back to the show. Great pleasure to welcome aboard David Marsh. He's a personal performance coach. He's also a creator of iGolftv.com and a longtime good player in his own right. Morning, David.
Good morning, Peter.
Nice to be with you, sir. We were talking with Brad Faxon about putting earlier, and I asked him how he worked on his rhythm, and he said he doesn't work on his rhythm when he putts. And I thought, well, maybe part of that's because he was born with a great deal of that. But the rest of us, if the rest of us had good rhythm in putting, how much would that sort out?
I think rhythm's such an important factor. You've got to get your state of mind as well in the right place to go and be a good putter. I think too many players get wound up with technique, and it really is it's an attitude part of the game almost more than any other.
When you say attitude, do you mean the mindset of I'm just going to go ahead, knock this in, and casually do so?
Well, I think that is part of it. I try to get players to try less and trust more, and I think if you can take that sort of attitude onto the greens, but most importantly, I think it's the way that you practice away from, tournament golf that's going to make the difference.
If you could choose a putt without seeing me putt, choose a putting length from the hole and a drill that you like for recreational players to hold more stuff inside of 12 feet in particular, what do you like?
I think what you've just said there, practicing this distance from 12 feet around that hole, because that takes the pressure off your short game. If you're confident that you can get the ball into the hole from really inside that 10, 8 feet stretch, you can chip the ball up to the hole and know you've got a really good chance to save that par or bogey. So the more you can work around the hole, the more you can practice those drills where you're getting confident on trying less, rolling the ball nice and freely at the hole. That's what sort of builds confidence with the players I work in.
It's funny when you see a really fine player walk over to hit a greenside chip or pitch. Invariably, they take a club, a lob wedge generally these days. But when you see it and you think to yourself, ooh, I wonder what kind of shot they're going to hit. And then when you see a recreational player go over to hit a chip or a pitch and they take one club, you think, oh, boy, we got nothing but trouble.
That's right. And I think too many amateur players, they take too much loft. They see the Phil Mickelsons on the PGA Tour and, so many of the coverage or so much of the coverage on television where, these top guys are practicing 6-8 hours a day, sometimes even more. They've got the technique and the confidence to go and, hit that lob wedge up there with a lot of spin. But I think most amateurs would find a lot more consistency to go down the bag a little bit, get the 7-iron, get the 6-iron, actually running up to the hole and, never be afraid to get the putter on. The Texas wedge can be a real friend of yours when you're out there trying to score low.
David, why do so many recreational players decelerate on all of those shots? The little chips and pitches around the edge, you see the club stop dead, the ball goes nowhere. Sometimes it gets scuttled over the putting surface. Same thing with putting. Big, long stroke. I know I'm guilty of it. Big, long stroke and then some easing thing as you approach impact.
I think for me, it's simple. On the chipping, it's loss of confidence in the strike. If you feel that you're going to strike the ball badly, then your confidence can go that sort of split second before you strike the ball. I think what's interesting is golfers, they kind of need to remember how athletic the game is. I love to give players a drill of throwing the ball. So I talk about actually chipping like you throw it, because if you give a player the ball in their hand, they know that it's lying well, and then I get them to throw the ball up to the hole, let's say from 15 or 20 yards. You can see they've got the athletic ability to get the ball close that way. It's really when they come in to strike the ball with a golf club that the fear of the duff strike or the thin strike. So I think if you can work on drills that really can get you some confidence in the strike, and that's why I get a lot of players just practicing with what I would call their glove hand, but for a right-handed golfer it's just their left hand. Get consistent with striking the ball well. You can then take that, some real confidence into your chip shots.
If you could pick, I once asked Mark Calcabecchia, Mark, if you could pick one thing that you think is universal to all players in terms of a piece of advice, what would that be? And he said to try to feel like you're staying the same height throughout the golf swing. If I ask you that, what's your response to is there, in your view, a universal, or do you really need to pick on a couple of things?
Is that question on the short game, Peter?
You can put it take it any way you want in the most general macro sense.
I think if I'd answer it on the short game, first of all, because that's an area that I think gets neglected so much with amateur players. They love to go and watch the ball fly down the driving range. And so, when I come to the short game, I feel if we come back to that strike idea, it's weight on the left-hand side. If they keep their weight forward, it's much easier to get the golf club on the ball before it hits the ground. And so that's a big factor. I totally agree with what Mark says with keeping your height, right throughout the whole golf swing as well. I mean, I think that's players that struggle to drive the ball in the fairway. They tend to lose height. I mean, that's obviously been well documented with Tiger, and something that him and Sean are working on very hard to try and maintain his height through the golf swing. So, certainly that's good advice from Mark for any amateur to think about.
One of the things that staying on your left side or getting to your left side before the strike conjures up is if the sense that if you moved over to your left side that the remaining portion of the strike is going to be effected with a particularly steep swing. Is that an erroneous mental image?
It is a little bit, because we don't want to try and get the swing feeling like it's steep, because then we get that sharp leading edge into the ground too much.
Right.
But I think it's the feeling that if you can set your weight sort of 80-20 to your left-hand side, it's helping to minimize that body movement as well, the sway back and forth. And once you start to get that feeling, I get players, certainly players that are struggling with that strike, just to hit some shots off, again, for a right-handed golfer, just their left foot. So lifting their right foot off the ground. And if you can build confidence into a player's strike, we can start to play all sorts of shots then. You need to kind of inspire that confidence with them, because, if you watch a guy that's struggling with chipping, that split second before they're going to hit the ball, it's like a fireworks going off. And you kind of need to bring it back to that simplistic feel of getting club on ball and getting that real nice, sweet feeling again.
And there's also, going back to this word attitude again, if you have the attitude that you're going to stay committed, it's amazing how much better. Just that particular thought, no matter where this goes, I'm going to stay committed to this shot, and I'm not going to hope for some fluky good thing to happen at the bottom, because I don't know. It's an amazing thing if you actually have that as your thought. Yeah,
I mean, I was working with a tour player yesterday, and even for these guys, they're always open to suggestions on different things, and we worked a lot on holding the finish after the shot. And, we found he was hitting the ball 15, 20 yards further when we went out onto the course because of the commitment. It's almost like you make a mental decision that once you've gone through impact, you're going to get up into that really strong position. And we've just done a video on the site for people to go and watch, largely down to the radio show, to get them, to show them this feeling of going to hold the finish. So, whether that's on a short shot, a medium iron or a drive, if you get into a really good mindset of thinking, I'm going to show that commitment through the ball and get to my finish position and hold that finish position, I think a lot of players out there would be surprised how many good things would happen in their swing.
We're talking with David Marsh, personal performance coach, creator of iGolftv.com. Tell me about iGolftv.com.
Well, Peter, the concept behind it was how often I would meet players in the locker room or amateurs at golf tournaments that would love to ask questions. I think golf gets inside so many people's soul, and they want to become better. They want to know how to become better, and sometimes that information's not always there. But I would find myself talking to somebody, for 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and they'd continually ask me questions. And I found it was such an easy way for me to go and create some of these videos, answer their questions, and then drop them an email or get them to join the site. And so, the whole premise of iGolftv is to give people the answers to their questions and make it simple. I've found that if a player can watch something, it can really get inside their mind. They almost learn like they did when they were children, visually, learn from pictures, watch somebody do it, and go and repeat it.
What do you see when Tiger plays his game now? What do those pictures tell you?
Well, I mean, Tiger's someone who's obviously always talked about pitches, especially in his putting. And yeah, I think as a golf coach, you listen to these top guys. You want to download every piece of information they've got. And I think what's difficult is when you get caught up in technique, the pictures probably become fuzzier. They're not as clear. And so that's something that he's obviously got to work through that at the moment. And, he's doing some great work with Sean. And I think his pictures will start to come back and be clearer. And, part of that obviously comes back with confidence. But it's trying to get out there and play free golf and get away from really almost any swing thoughts.
Did you have a sense of Sean in terms of the quality of his coaching before all of the noise started to get made with Tiger?
I think with someone like Sean, you see the confidence. You see the confidence that he has. And as soon as some results start to happen for him with some of these other players, that confidence is, you've got to believe in what you tell a player. And, to me, it's sometimes not just about what you coach somebody, it's how you inspire them. You've got to inspire them to your way of thinking. And I think he's done a great job with Tiger for that because, I think Tiger gets a lot of bashing purely because of such a high-profile figure, of course. But to get someone on Tiger's level on board with your ideas, you've got to be a special sort of person and a real inspiration to get them to see your way of thinking, really, Peter.
Can Tiger learn to be or find a way to be a wonderful putter again?
I think he demonstrated on the front nine on Sunday at the Masters that it's still, he's still maybe the best in the world, but it didn't quite happen for him on the back nine, and he's going to come back and be at that level again, where he almost never missed from sort of inside 15 feet, especially for par. So, I feel we'll see him back. I think the interesting thing that I see for Tiger, though, is no longer being the powerhouse that he was. When he teed it up in a 3-ball, he was the guy that was going to hit it the furthest out there on the par 5s. And, now when he gets paired with guys like Dustin Johnson, I think that's got to be a slightly different mindset for him. But I think we'll see a lot more from Tiger. And, I think he'll beat Jack's record, in my opinion.
You think from this point forward, basically to accumulate a career of 5 majors, as though you've not won any before, even though, of course, he has 14 of them. But it's a career's worth. It's not a finish of a career. It's a whole one. Yeah,
and obviously what's happened in Tiger's personal life over the last few years has halted his progress. But I think he showed signs more to himself than anyone else. I mean, Tiger's obviously very single-minded, and what he did on the Masters on those first 9 holes is that will be big for him. And I believe he'll go on and win more than double figures of majors again. I think when he gets things sorted, and golf is such a game. Players like Vijay Singh and Miguel Angel Jimenez have shown just how many tournaments you can win when you hit your 40s, and Tiger's still got 4 years before he gets there. So yeah, I don't see Tiger sort of not having the ability to get back and start really dominating golf again.
I'm delighted to talk.
Although I don't think he'll go and win 5 and 6 in a row, perhaps like he did, back 4 or 5 years ago. I don't think he'll get back to that level, but I think his focus will be so much on majors, Peter.
Always has been. Even more so going forward, I suspect. Thanks, David, and great to be with you this morning. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Peter. Look forward to the next time.
Good luck with iGolftv.com. David Marsh, personal performance coach, creator of iGolftv. Okay, let's talk.